Hello, welcome back to Leeds United, end of Season 7 for you here all together, and I'll get you caught up on all the stories for the remainder of this season. The competition page is probably a good place to start. Premier League 1. The 1 point thing is less dramatic than it looks. We did win it with 3 games to go. We just decided not to really play the last 3 games. Champions League final sees us come up against Manchester City. I think Manchester City have won the Champions League in the save as well at some point. I'm not certain. FA Cup didn't go fantastically well. Immediately knocked out by Spurs. But we did win the Carabao Cup, in part by beating Spurs. Because, of course, in fact, they were back-to-back games, if I remember rightly, so... But we'll talk Premier League first, because there is one story here. It's not the only one. I've just realised there's yet another story that I hadn't noticed. So the news, Everton won the Conference League. West Ham won the Europa League over Spurs. I'll leave that one there. And Fulham, whilst relegated, won the FA Cup. So Fulham in the Championship have Europa League. They've done a Wigan, which means we have 5 teams in the Champions League and 3 teams in the Europa League and no Conference League at all. Unlucky Chelsea. There might still be a Conference League position yet to be distributed. I'm not certain. Because we won the Carabao Cup, so the Conference League place goes to the league and nobody has it. So I don't know if it's been upgraded to a different role or if it's yet to be properly distributed because we've not played our Champions League game yet. And Chelsea might still end up with it. But no dramatically bad season for anyone. Sheffield United 23 points. It's not awful compared to previous seasons where it's basically been 10 points for the team at the bottom. Labego, second best player. Haaland's just turned up again this year, 45 goals. Labego's 27. It's pretty good going from him. Zobo's like 10 assists. Valeri, 10 assists. Don't know why I called him Valerie there. And Karasecki back with the most clean sheets in the league. Golden glove for him. After initially struggling to adjust, I say struggling, we ended up only 40 conceded and 11 clean sheets. It was a bit of a drop-off in that sense, but last couple of seasons, very consistent, we'll say. 7.03 both times. 3 player of the matches. Not easy for a goalkeeper, but yes, more clean sheets this year than last by 1, and less conceded. In more appearances, actually. In fact, he played all 38 games this year. That's the reason I subbed him out at 2 last. Don't know why. Squad news-wise, no January transfers. A couple of people, new contracts, probably at the end of the year. The only real piece of news is I've promised to sell Struijk because he was wanting to explore these, because he basically said he was going to leave at the end of his contract, which is the end of next season. So I promised I'd sell him, and nobody's come in for him, of course, so he's not upset about it yet. By the time he does leave at the end of next season, and I will let him go on a free, I think if I show you homegrown status for the main squad, at the end of this season we get both Matt Cox and Boothby as homegrown club players. Kohler in 2 years' time, and there's a couple more in the unders that you're not seeing, of course, that will become club as well. So the fact of the matter is, Phillips is still going to be here, Cresswell obviously still going to be here, Gray's still going to be here, Droneley's going to be here still. He got homegrown club over the course of this season, and Gosling and Albanos also that. And all of these guys move out of the under-21 status for next season as well, so they will become, obviously, necessary to be registered, so we won't have any issues in Europe, is my point. Struijk can go. Which I don't want him to go, he can go. Updates on Labego, he has had caps and he has scored. I loved it. Basically, he ended up back in the team in the last international window, came on as a substitute, scored immediately, because of course he did. All things considered, 37 goals in 39 starts. Mad. Milovanovic has been injured for quite a lot of this season, second half of this season in particular, which means the recalled Edward Elhami, who I did recall immediately in the January transfer window with the intention to loan him back out to someone, has played games for us. He's started 4 games in the Premier League and come on as a substitute 5 further times, along with playing a Carabao Cup game and playing in Champions League games. So, and you can't see it behind my head, but the 2 substitute Champions League appearances have given him an average rating of 7.95. There's one very particular moment I need to address. We, of course, did these 2 games here, Manchester United-Liverpool, on the last episode. December went well, apart from a 0-0 draw away at West Ham. Yeah, lots of goals scored, barely any conceded. And then January started by losing to Brighton and Spurs, and I thought, oh god. But then after losing to Spurs, it was an FMing. Not a massive one, but it was an FMing. We then smashed them 4-1 in the Carabao Cup, as mentioned. Sutton dealt with, Copenhagen destroyed, Wolves dealt with, Celtic dealt with, fully rotated obviously in these 2 we'd already qualified. West Ham, the bogey team, annihilated 6-0. And with a rotated-ish team against Spurs in second leg, because we'd already kind of sewn it up in leg 1, 2-0 away from home. Because, of course, lost away at Liverpool, that's fine. Champions League continued. Baffling pair of games against Ajax. We also won the Roses derby in the league against Man United, but 3 shots on target, 2 goals. And the second leg, 3 shots on target, 3 goals. Ajax had 6 shots on target against us, and scored 5 of them. Thankfully, we were relatively clinical ourselves and managed to score 9 across the 2 legs. Everton dealt within the league. Yeah, Carabao Cup final. That was a Roses derby as well. A Roses derby that Man United didn't turn up for. It wasn't like they rotated either. That was a full-strength side, and they were obliterated. It's worth mentioning, whilst he didn't play this game, Rodrigo Ribeiro, the Portuguese player that's ahead of Labego in the international setup, was signed by Manchester United. Must have been injured for this final because he's not there, or cup-tied or something. I don't know what's going on there. They lost to City in the league, which made things interesting at least, but Premier League-wise, things went well. Dealt with Liverpool. Really dealt with Liverpool. 4-0 at home, 1-1 away. We'll take that one. Barcelona 1-1 away. You've already seen it, I imagine. Spurs 5-1 away at home. Continue to destroy them in everything apart from the FA Cup that mattered. Yeah. 1-1 away from home at Barcelona felt like, good, this gives us an opportunity. This gives us a platform to get a result at home. Fantastic news. I feel like I broke Football Manager with this one. Yeah, 10-0. 10. A scoreline normally reserved for playing like National League teams in the FA Cup happened against Barcelona. We had 17 shots on target, scored 10 of them. Ter Stegen still ran out of that game with a 6.3 because he made 7 saves. Barcelona didn't have a single shot on target. Milenkovic, Pedro, Dronley twice, Makoko twice, Labego with 1, like seconds before he was injured for the remainder of the season, up until the Champions League final, in fact. Calvin Phillips scored, and Edward Elhamy scored twice off the bench, thus his 7.95 average. It was a demolition. We hit the woodwork twice as well. 17 shots on target and 2 off the woodwork. It could have been worse. Chelsea destroyed the league, thankfully. We were 1-0 down in that, and then Edward Elhamy scored twice. Brentford 1-1, sealed us the league title, incidentally. We just needed to not lose it. We were 6 points clear with 2 games to go and a much better goal difference, so it was basically impossible for them to get there, but the 1 point against Brentford absolutely sealed it, and then fully rotated against Newcastle apart from the goalkeeper and, well, lost. But Champions League final time, Valeri's out. I'm not even on the day. Youth intake, Adam Harrison. In January, I was looking at youth left backs with the acceptance that Valeri, I think, is 29, maybe 30 this season. James Keane is developing. He could take over at left back. I was looking at left backs in the January window. I was trying to sign one, and I was running into work permit issues and things like that, and it all fell down. And I thought, okay, I'll try again in the summer. And then the youth intake happened and brought me the player that I needed anyway. He's only 15 now, of course. Valeri can play for us for another 2-3 years. James Keane obviously can carry us for another 2-3 years, no problem. And by then he will be a first choice. So by the time Valeri ages out, Adam Harrison would age in. Also Femi Terry. I haven't got faces for these two. In the youth intake, he wasn't regarded as 4, maybe 5 stars, so I'm not as confident he's as exceptional as the star rating now says, but he might be sensational as well. It wasn't a bad intake, all things considered, either. There was a bunch of players who were guaranteed 3 stars on the potential with optional 4-star, but I will say also James Caswell, the goalkeeper from last year, his overall isn't as spectacular as it was in the intake last year, so I'm not fully certain what's gone on there. And Nicholas Wright, the youth player from Exeter, who we bought a couple of years ago, is developing slowly in the under-18s. He'll move up to the under-21s. I might put him in the main team squad. Research has been done. Apparently, in terms of developing players, it is actually better now to put them in the main squad and let them play under-21 games than it is to put them in the under-21 squad. So we'll see how that pans out. And it also helps some mentoring as well, I imagine. So we'll keep an eye on that one. But in terms of his core striking attributes, 16, 14, 14 at the age of 18. Oh, needs more strength. That's what I'm working on. I think the only person with a new contract since we last met is Dronley, who absolutely needed one because he was 18 months away from running out entirely. Yeah, he's getting better. Marking's gone up the most for some reason. Sure, you're not really the defensive midfielder, but whatever. Okay, so no Dronley. Raya makes the bench just because we get 12 subs. Labego's only good for 45 minutes. Damn. Okay, well, second half then for Labego. Milovan might be okay to start, but he's also completely unsharp. Oh, with Valeri injured, that's a problem as well, isn't it? I actually feel like we've got one striker too many. I think Cresswell on the bench, in case I need a right-sided defender. I'm almost tempted to put Boothby on. But, actually, I suppose the thing to do here is Nketiah. I feel like I need the options off the bench for freshness. It's a risky move. In goal, Karnasecki. Left back, Keane, because there's no Valeri. And Decker, Milenkovic, Gottschling at right back. Ruxel, Milinkovic, Savic with Zoboslai, who could easily be Dronley now there to start with, but we'll stick with our boy. 16 assists, 10 goals for the season for him so far. He's having another good one. João Pedro, Makoko, and Elhamy is going to start. 5 goals in 5 starts. 2 of those, obviously, substitute appearance against Barcelona, and 2 of them against Chelsea. So he can score against the good teams. And we're going to need it now. Gottschling himself back from Actually, I think suspension, not injury. So he's a little bit unsharp. As it looks like Manchester City rotated in the last game, as well as a whole host of first teamers come back into the first squad. Good lord, that's a horrifying list of players to be returning to the first 11. Haaland captain with Ruben Diaz in central defence. That's a curious decision, considering how a lot of the big teams, their squads haven't really changed all that much. Manchester City's has. Ederson still there, Diaz still there, Haaland and Foden still there, first 11 wise. Laporte still on the bench, Grealish on the bench, and that is it. Oh, Cole Palmer, of course, and a couple of youngsters are still there, but Rico Lewis. You know, the Arsenal team is still basically the Arsenal team. Also, this is the Johan Cruyff Arena, where we did smash Ajax. So as neutral ground goes, it's one that we've been good at already. Yes, by the way, I am aware that Man City are playing with secondary colour shorts. In a weird way, I quite like it. It wasn't intentional. They were meant to be the correct shorts. It's just when I generated it, I did it wrong. But I've grown to like it as almost like an inverted, you know, Burnley, West Ham, Aston Villa kind of aesthetic. Szoboszlai's in, Szoboszlai's in, Szoboszlai's in. Ruben Diaz is a sensational player. Pedro's in, SMS isn't. Ruben Diaz is one of those players that's younger than I think he is in real life, because I think he's like 28 in real life. I think he's only about 26, 25 maybe. With his birthday just gone in game, I think he'd be 26 now. Still really good in game at 32, of course. Oh, I can't remember if this was done by the time we saw you last as well, but SMS has got an extra year in his contract, as does Phillips. We renegotiated with both of them. Phillips agreed to less money, SMS needed more money, so they kind of cancelled each other out. Phillips went down from 120 grand a week to 84, I think it was. So quite a pay cut, all things considered. But then SMS wanted about 30 grand more as well, so didn't really save much. That's both unlucky and lucky at the same time. The deflection could have been lucky, but it bounced wide. So I decided to put this corner in, and Haaland is there to clear. It's annoying that he's as good defensively in that respect as he is offensively. All the players are so far. Manchester City haven't had a shot full stop yet, so we know where this one's going. Although we have gained possession. Keane. Elhami is in. That's an excellent challenge from Kirior. He's Polish, isn't he? Jakub Kirior. I don't know if you're supposed to pronounce the W like that or not. Velasco. Makoko. Szoboszlai. He's not going to get there first. It bounces off everyone and ends up at Haaland's feet because, of course, he does, Football Manager. Can't just let a loose ball go. Haaland. Foden plays Velasco in. It's great from Gottschling. That's going to fall at Pedro's feet, and Elhami's running through the middle. He might be offside by the time it's played to him. That squeezes in. I thought that I was going wide, which is why I wasn't excited by it. There's no call of offside here either. Like, no even reflection of it. So I think I can get excited. All this from actually them failing, just taking a heavy touch with Velasco, but I thought he might have been off by the time that ball was actually played, and he was really slow with it. Elhami, Ederson gets a hand on it, but only tips it as far as to the inside of the post. I thought it was going wide, which is why I was muted, but they're actually playing 4-4-2. Actually, now I think about it, I think the manager in charge of Manchester City right now is the manager that took over in the future simulation that I am basically rewriting by continuing this save. It's Roger Smith, who I think was the... Pedro makes it 2. That was as easy as you like. Elhami with a goal and assist now, I think that is. I'm being rewarded for that choice, apparently. But yeah, I'm pretty certain it was Roger Smith that took over Leeds in the future simulation I did at the end of the beta version of this save. You know, where I left it at Season 4 and simulated into the future. And people were obviously sacrificed to his 4-4-2, which is what made me angry and made me want to continue it later in the year, which is what's happening now. I feel like I'm almost taking it out on him at this point, proving him why he was an idiot. So it looks like Manchester City did have a shot on target at some point. We haven't seen it. So Leeds United have been to a Champions League final before and not won it. And then we've been to one and not won it. So here's our third time lucky, I guess. Szoboszlai, Milenkovic. Let's not cock this up now. So SMS, Elhami, Pedro. He's got... Apparently that skimmed the top of the bar. That angle was less forgiving. It looked like he smashed it over. Haaland should have scored, probably. A couple of people were bookings now. The usual suspects, Gottschling, Milenkovic, Ruxel. Both Ruxel and Gottschling have 17 yellow cards for the season. But Ruxel also scoring. Ruxel scored one of the best goals of the year earlier in the season. He's up to 4 goals now. I think it was actually his first goal. That was the absolute banger. I might try and find it. Gets ahead of Kirior, and that's a goal. 3-0. Pedro's on a 10. I think he might have assisted that one. Maybe he assisted Elhami to begin with. 68 minutes on the clock. There's no one really super tired, and there's no one really playing badly. Milenkovic obviously on a booking. I mean, at 3-0, I could probably make that kind of change. Szoboszlai's on 70%. Pedro, Makoko under 70% fitness right now. Elhami might be in here. He is in, and that's 4. Well, he likes to get a brace against the big teams, and he's got a brace. 2 against Barcelona, 2 against Chelsea, now 2 against Manchester City. If I played him in the Carabao Cup final, it might have been 8-0. That I mean, that's a kind of a dumb goal, but we'll take it. I mean, with that in mind, Albanoz on, Cresswell on. I'm just taking all the Calvin Phillips on. Come on, mate. You have this moment. Dronley and Bargy on for fitness purposes. Pedro having a storming game. Almost don't want to take him off. I might take him off individually later on for Nketiah for a standing ovation purpose. Okay, 10 minutes to go. We'll do that now then. Apparently I can't count. That's 5. Yeah, 3 bookings and 2 tired players. Whoops. Sorry, Pedro. You're going to play to the end. SMS with a free kick to cap things off. I don't think I've seen a free kick go in all year. But Phillips deserves some time. Phillips probably can count himself unlucky not to start this game after his ridiculous performance against Barcelona. And there we are. Phillips scored against Barcelona, but the unseen part of that was the fact that 3 assists out of those 10 were his. He ran out of that Barcelona game with a 10.0. It is Evan Dicker, I think, to lift that trophy as the on-field captain. Tyler Adams didn't come on, but I think that's that. I mean, we saw the Conference League version of this way back when, Season 2, I seem to be slightly more involved in the celebrations, actually, the Champions League than I am in the Premier League, etc. But we are celebrating in front of the Manchester City fans in the corner. That doesn't feel right. And they had 1 shot on target all game, and we didn't see it. They brought on Merlin at some point, and he clearly couldn't magic them anything. What a fantastic name, by the way. Real person, Quentin Merlin. He's on 110 grand a week. I didn't even bring Labego on in the end. He's on 75 grand a week. And their backup left back's on 110. I mean, even the overpriced Gotchling is on 100 grand a week. He's having the early rumblings of I want a new contract, even though I signed one about 2 days ago. Thankfully, he's also backing off as soon as I talk to him. So we might be able to push that for like a year. Evan and Dick is in the same boat as well. Even though he signed a new contract summer before last, he's having those rumblings of I want a new contract, but backing off immediately. It's only Labego that I've had to promise, I think, to give a new contract at the end of the year, and Dronley gave one a new one anyway because he was running out. I mean, what a win. It's weird that we've turned up in all the moments apart from the FA Cup third round. Now, the game said treble. It is a treble. It is not the treble. And actually, I don't think Manchester City have won it in-game. Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich again, PSG last year, of course, unless they won it the first year. Barcelona did. I mean, that was a dominant final. Medals, I think you only need 1 appearance for this, hence Scott Carson getting one in real life, which means a lot of players get one, including Boothby, who played 1 game. Matt Cox ended up playing 3 games in the Champions League. This player has a Champions League medal. I don't understand why he's not developing more. He should just be developing by virtue of existing and training, but he isn't. He's got good determination as well. I don't understand it. Maybe his professionalism isn't that good. No one actually made 10 starts because of rotation, I guess, but it's almost like with the most 9 and 4 subs, maybe appeared in 8 league games, 6 knockout games plus the final is 15 total. So nobody appeared in every single Champions League game. Bored happy. Still haven't won the FA Cup, and he did assist the other goal. This might put us top of the European coefficients as well. I love this. Champions League post-match press conference. Is Antonio Lovric continuing to do well for Coventry? What do you think his playing pathway looks like? Yeah, this is the moment. With respect, we're not here to talk about Antonio, are we? I think ironically, we actually gain less money by winning the Champions League than by losing it because of the bonuses. I think you're a staff member at the bottom of that. Yeah, he is. I don't know why he's got it. Brian Anton gets paid out for that, even though he never played a bloody game. He's not even here. He's on loan at Forest Green. Will Still's Forest Green, by the way. They've done him dirty. The worst part is, he's actually a good manager in the game. I don't know how he's ended up at Forest Green. Reputation, I guess, is the problem. I suppose he's still only 36. Just because it came up, I think he tried to loan someone off me. Jesse Marsh, the manager that I obviously ejected by taking over Leeds in the first place. Yeah, managing Bolton in League One. Again, that feels like a damning indictment, but his manager profile, really good. So yeah, not fully certain what's gone on there either. $2,000 a week. I got paid out for that. To notice my name's on that list. Droney, Champions League Young Player of the Season, 8 appearances, 5 goals, 5 assists altogether. Some of them, of course, against Barcelona. Dream Team, we won the damn thing, 3 players. In a weird way, I kind of like that because it's not kind of 3 players for me and then 8 of the team that we beat. It's 3 of our players, 3 of the team that we beat, 3 of Bayern Munich, weirdly, and then there's a Liverpool and an AC Milan player. Actually, that's a point. There were players in there that didn't even get to the semi-finals because Barcelona was a semi-final. There's no Barcelona players in there. I don't know who they beat to get to the final. Bayern Munich were knocked out in the quarterfinals. Liverpool were knocked out in the quarterfinals by us. Milan were knocked out in the round of 16, and yet Leao's in the... Okay, he did score 12 goals, in fairness. Darwin Nunch was the best overall rating over the entire thing. In a weird way, Darwin Nunch has been mugged off there. Cresswell. Sorry, I just realised it's Cresswell. It's Cresswell and Keane. Yeah, the weirdest part of that 10-0 against Barcelona was the fact that I accidentally rotated against them, thinking it was... I say accidentally, I was kind of forced into rotating because I didn't properly rest players. and we still smashed them 10-0. So I think that's part of the reason why rotation players have ended up in the Champions League Dream 11 is because of that average rating boost from the 10-0 that they played kind of by accident. Cardiff's actually not even top 3. James Kane's second in defender of the season. Makoko second in midfielder, yet doesn't make the best 11. Labego second in forward of the season, yet doesn't make best 11. Logic. Girona's in an odd spot here because Zidane's aware of his form, but he's also, 21, 3 stars. He does look pretty good. That's 3 stars for us. But he is also France. He's also finally learned midfielder. Yeah, his nationality is French, so that is a difficult nut to crack. Minimal signings, of course, most of them went into the unders. Ruxel, 6.9 in a position that doesn't really pick up good ratings in general. Kola played 10 games, all things considered, and did have a good year of things as things stand. Raya played 11 times, 2.2 million, perfect for a backup goalkeeper. And El Hami, played 14 times all together, 6 starts, including the Champions League final, because of course, and has rewarded us with 7 goals and 2 assists. It's not bad, really, is it? Our loans out have gone relatively well across the board. The main ones are kind of Nuno Rodriguez, who is developing, although he does have suspensions to, he could play more of a part next year. We do have to consider Milenkovic as well, because I think he has a year left on his contract and he is 31. Gusso, unfortunately, isn't developing as much as I would have liked. Barunas continues just to develop a little bit. He doesn't have a lot of potential, but if he can play rotation for us, that's superb. I'm confused by Lovrich because A, he's not developing, and B, his value has just completely tanked. Casaneve is getting close to at least being third choice goalkeeper, which is a bit annoying because I would like him to be more than that. Johansson is developing back at Braga. He's played a lot of games at Braga this year and has developed into a player that will probably play for us next year. Delfino hasn't really developed that well at Celtic, but at least has played some games. Daniel's 2.5 now. Still not sure whether I want him to be a defensive midfielder or centre-back. Barone's solid, although he's not really learned the side he should be on. And same with Faris Topoulos, because he's been on loan, he's not learned the side of the pitch he should be playing on, which is the other side. Both are pretty solid. Faris Topoulos is, of course, a youth prospect from the first season here. And Menderes Yigita is also developed quite well at Mallorca. Unfortunately, he's not really a ball player and hasn't really developed the way I would hoped he was. And then 22, we can probably make a profit on him. Ah, yes, Chelsea do get Conference League. Aston Villa have got a box here, and I don't really know why. Oh, because of the coefficients. So because of the Champions League bonus place for the top-rated division, Newcastle get that Champions League spot for being 5th. West Ham have Champions League because of the Europa League win. Chelsea might end up with the Europa League, and Aston Villa might end up with the Conference League. The Premier League could end up with 9 teams, and then the Championship gets one because of... I love the fact that winning Carabao Cup is B+. It's like they don't care. Just win it. Whatever. Yes, the match to remember, of course, is the 7-0 against Brighton. Not the 6-0 over Manchester United, our rivals, or whatever. Or even the biggest win, 10-0. Sponsorship's way up. Broadcast down. I don't get that. Corporate up. Competition prize money up. Everything up, pretty much. Zoboslai's the highest selling shirt. Pedro, Labego, Makoko, Sergei Milinkovic-Savic. I love the fact it always says no new sponsorship deals when there are always new sponsorship deals. And our best 11 does see James Keane at left back, actually. 20 starts, 26 substitute appearances, Valeri, injuries, suspensions, etc. Nketiah makes it ahead of Pedro, which I'm actually not surprised by. Pedro only scored, I think, 5 goals this year. Nketiah scored 17 with 10 assists. Labego didn't make an assist all year, but scored 37, so I can't really be mad. Drone makes it ahead of SMS, despite only being rotation. Drone's development has been sort of quietly sensational. Not really made much of a fuss about it, but he's been very good. Valeri, despite being actually top 3 assists in the Premier League, might be a little bit mugged off there. Gottschling has turned up this year, which is nice. We won October, December and January Manager of the Month, along with year. Yeah, signing a season, there wasn't that many to choose from, let's be real. And most clean sheets in the year for Cardiff, actually. 28 only still now. Plenty of years left in him, which is good because it looks like our youth ones are going to take a while to get good. Has there been an update for this? Because retroactively, I don't think it's been obviously played backwards, but there's 3 notes here for like very specific matches. Fierce rivals Man United, fierce rivals Man United, fierce rivals Chelsea, etc. Oh yeah, Brentford. The Premier League winning match was actually my 400th match. Oh, I am in the England Hall of Fame. I am 9th though, so it's miles off. Best 11 sees Labego enter it. Actually, Labego might have been in it last year. I don't know if he was the starting player though, because Valeri, SMS and Bargi are the ones that have entered the overalls. Valeri just permanently in at left back over Robert Skov, I want to say, is probably the previous holder of that position, judging by the bench. Bargi's just on the bench, and SMS also on the bench, yet to usurp Almada, of course. Tyler Adams remains in DM. We actually played Melier because we played Juventus this year. Marvin Plattenhart has, of course, retired, but he's also a national sea license, unfortunately, because I don't think he'll get a work permit, which is a shame. I would love to bring him in as like an under-18s coach and then develop him up. Right, so what's your expectations now then? Latter stages of the Champions League. That's the first time that's not been group and challenge for the title. There's no thing between retain and qualify, so I don't know which button to press. There's no challenge for the title. Reach the latter stages. Thank God that's literally verbatim in that. Oh, Cardiff got promoted thanks to loaning Elliott back. He's also going to be in the picture next year. I did wonder. I asked the question actually, I think at the end of last season, because obviously we moved into the new stadium this year, literally, or the expanded stadium this year. And I did notice over the course of the season that we were filling it entirely still. And there was only about 5,000 further extension space. We can only take it from 55 to 60. So I did wonder if the next step would be taking it to 60 or just building a new one. Okay, so that's basically it for this season. Nothing really much to mention. Ndicka got 10 goals. Milinkovic got 9. We're actually doing all right from corners this year and set pieces. Yeah, Pedro, 7 goals. Sorry, not 5. Same amount of goals as Edward Alhami, who played 14 games total, only 6 as a starter, opposed to Pedro's 48 games. Kind of odd behaviour for our best player on paper. Sepiqueno Redmond, who played 13 games, 6 to start, scored 8. He scored 8. I also promised to sell him for what he valued himself, which was 65 million. Good luck there. I actually do have a picture of him. I haven't put it in. Drone scored more. I mean, even Milovanovic has scored more, and he started 10 games. And I thought he was disappointing this year, frankly, and he's actually scored 10 in 10 starts. But a bunch of players getting their first goals as well for us. Kohler got his first goal. Matt Koch scored 2 and assisted 2, despite being a League One player. Obviously, Rixel came in and scored. He got his first goal along with 3 further goals. So a lot of people getting off the mark immediately, pretty much this season. So that's good to see. And creative, of course, we know who's the winner there. Pedro, whilst he hasn't scored, has created a fair amount, so we can't be too mad there. The fullbacks chipping in quite a lot. Bargy chipping in quite a lot. Bargy actually chipping in assist-wise more than Makoko. It's a little bit interesting, that one, actually. Scored 8, assisted 12. Makoko scored 15, assisted 7. So kind of almost inverted, which is interesting. The fact that they both play the same role, both inside forwards on the right-hand side, and yet they kind of provide the exact opposite in their outputs. But yes, winning the Champions League does make this next bit easier to say. Leeds will not continue beyond the release of F1 Manager 23. As soon as F1 Manager 23 comes in, we'll be fully focused on that for the first few weeks of its release for certain, with no Football Manager in sight. So with that in mind, as we wrap up things on F1 Manager 22 also, in the next few weeks, we'll also wrap things up here. Now, what format that takes is, I don't know. We'll continue maybe, because this is typically only 1 episode a week as well, could genuinely end up being a season per week. The next 2 we'll just do as was, half and half, and then we'll work out what to do at the end of next season, really, I think is what's going to happen there. So we'll do halfway, end of next season, and then maybe a season per episode to get to 10 before F1 Manager gets out. I think 10th season would be a nice wrapping point. So if we do season 8 as a 2-parter, and then season 9 and season 10 as just 1-parters, that might be the thing to do. And I think at that point, that's when F1 Manager 23 would come out, or there might be a week's gap or something like that. I don't know. But that's likely going to be a plan. I just wanted to say that ahead of time. We still need to win the bloody FA Cup, of course, and win an actual treble. But Premier League, Champions League, League Cup, not bad from Season 7. And our players are yet to hit their prime for the most part. If you enjoyed this, like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, ta-ra.